Let's get one thing straight. Evil doesn't start with monsters. It starts with ordinary people. People who pay their bills, love their families, and slowly begin to look the other way. Shocking, right? But that's the uncomfortable truth. The real danger isn't out there, it's in the human mind. Quietly giving up ground, one small choice at a time. And no, it's not about psychopaths or sociopaths. It's about people like you and me, who sometimes choose silence instead of courage, convenience instead of conscience. We like to believe we'd never fall into darkness. But what if I told you that the path to evil is paved with politeness, distraction, and social acceptance? In this video, you're going to discover how the banality of evil takes root, not in chaos, but in routine. You'll understand how the power of conformity, the danger of frivolity, and your own environment and social circles might be pulling you into something you don't even see. And more importantly, how to break free before it's too late. People often imagine evil as something distant, grotesque, or obvious. But what if the most terrifying kind of evil doesn't come wearing a mask, but rather lives quietly in the ordinary routines of the human mind? That's where the banality of evil takes root, not in monstrous intent, but in the silent permission we give to cruelty when we pretend not to notice. You've seen it, haven't you? The offhand comment, the look away, the shrug when something clearly wrong unfolds right in front of you. It's chilling when you think about it. History's darkest moments weren't triggered by villains alone, but by regular people who didn't question their environment or social circles. The power of conformity kept them in line, and silence did the rest. The human mind, seeking comfort and belonging, can rationalize almost anything, even horror. That's why understanding how our minds work isn't just psychological fluff, it's essential. If left unchecked, even your own thoughts can slowly bend toward justification of the unjust. Take a look around, at work, in your family, on social media. Notice how easy it is to go with the flow, laugh at what's cruel, ignore what's inconvenient. Evil doesn't demand your participation at first, it just needs your indifference. And that indifference, masked by jokes or not, my problem, is how the danger of frivolity starts to sneak in. But there's more to this. Silence isn't the only accomplice of evil. Wait until you see what happens when people know what's wrong, and still choose to stay quiet. Most people aren't cruel by nature, they're just silent. That's the hidden danger. The power of conformity doesn't ask you to throw the first stone, it only asks that you don't stop the crowd. The human mind seeks harmony more than truth, which is why entire societies can drift into madness while everyone watches in silence, nodding politely. And the deeper tragedy, they often think they're doing the right thing. It's exactly what Tolstoy pointed out. People usually know what's right and wrong. They just don't want the inconvenience of acting on it. Morality becomes a luxury in a world addicted to comfort. You hear someone being humiliated in a meeting, and you stay quiet. You witness injustice on the street, and tell yourself, it's not my fight. That's not neutrality. That's complicity, sugar-coated by cowardice and dressed in passivity. And this passivity doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow erosion, an internal voice that gets quieter each time you ignore it. The environment and social circles you're part of subtly reward silence and punish friction. That's how the banality of evil stays alive, not with loud screams, but with comfortable nods. But what if I told you there's a more dangerous tactic than silence, one that distracts you from even noticing what's wrong? In the Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis didn't just write a book, he delivered a masterclass on how the human mind can be seduced by the ordinary. The senior demon Screwtape warns, you don't need to make humans monsters, just keep them busy, distract them with work, gossip, status, entertainment. Little by little, morality becomes theoretical, and soon, the power of conformity turns their moral compass into decoration. Don't think about it. When was the last time you stopped to question your habits, your routines, your beliefs? Not because they were wrong, but because they had become ... automatic. That's how the danger of frivolity takes over, by turning moral questions into background noise. While you chase notifications, it's not that people hate goodness, Screwtape would say. They just stop thinking about it. And that's precisely the trap. You're not evil, you're just distracted. You don't hate virtue, you just postpone it. One day becomes 2, then 10, then a lifetime. The environment and social circles applaud your busyness and laugh at your seriousness. And while you're chasing relevance, something else inside you, something vital, starts going quiet. But apathy is only the beginning. The next step is far more dangerous. Ethical indifference doesn't explode, it seeps in like fog. One compromise here, one excuse there. You don't wake up one day and betray your values. You just get used to ignoring them. And the human mind is a master at rationalization. I had no choice. It wasn't that bad. Sound familiar? There's always a justification. I was tired. I needed that promotion. But behind these lines is something darker. The slow normalization of what's wrong. You don't scream evil. You whisper it to yourself in a way that makes you feel smart. That's the banality of evil in action. And no one around you notices. Because they're doing the same thing. Environment and social circles play their role. If your group laughs at cruelty or mocks empathy, you'll adjust. Not because you agree, but because you don't want to be the odd one out. It's not always malice. Sometimes it's just fear of looking naive. But the result, a collective silence dressed as intelligence and cool detachment. And here's where it gets sinister. When you stop practicing goodness, you don't stay neutral, you drift. Slowly, you begin to admire boldness without morals, charisma without conscience. The power of conformity starts to reward you for fitting in. But there's one more layer to this indifference. And it starts where you least expect it. In the friendships you value the most, you become like the people you admire, whether you realize it or not. The human mind absorbs attitudes, jokes, even moral boundaries from the environment and social circles. Suddenly, things you once found disturbing now seem normal because everyone around you laughs. That's the power of conformity. It doesn't just change what you do, it reshapes what you tolerate. And when tolerance is misplaced, ethics slowly evaporate. C.S. Lewis nailed it. He warned that we often trade our deepest values just to impress others. It's not because we're evil, it's because we're afraid of not belonging. You enter a new group, hear a joke that crosses the line, and you smile. Just a little. That smile is the seed. And one day, you're no longer pretending. You've become what you once resisted. Social validation is addictive. When your circle praises cleverness over compassion, irony over sincerity, you follow suit, not to be cruel, but to stay liked. This is how the danger of frivolity sneaks in, laughing at everything, even what should make you pause. And the more you adopt this posture, the more divided you become. One person in public, another in private. This split creates inner chaos. You feel it. That quiet tension between who you were and who you're acting like. The banality of evil thrives here, in that gap between conscience and behavior. But the next threat to your values isn't just about who surrounds you. It's about how you treat everything like a joke. It starts as a defense mechanism. You joke about everything, ethics, politics, even pain, and suddenly, nothing feels serious anymore. Frivolity becomes a shield, and irony your armor. But here's the twist. When you treat morality like a punchline, the human mind stops taking it seriously. That's when the banality of evil smiles and steps in, because now, you're laughing while the world burns. Irony gives people a way out. Instead of facing discomfort, they roll their eyes and say, "Relax, it's just a joke." But sarcasm isn't neutral. It shapes what we normalize. Over time, even cruelty can sound witty if said with the right smirk. And when values are treated as cringeworthy, virtue becomes invisible. The power of conformity ensures you never question it. History is packed with examples. Ever notice how tyrants rarely present themselves as villains? They joke, they charm, they use the danger of frivolity to make followers feel clever, above the naive moralists. And soon, laughing at darkness becomes easier than confronting it. Real talk gets labeled too serious, and the soul quietly erodes. But here's the tragic irony. While we hide behind jokes, we fantasize about being good people. We imagine ourselves as moral, heroic, wise, but ignore the petty cruelty in our tone, the passive mockery in our comments. This illusion of goodness blinds us, and that, my friend, leads directly into the next trap, one where sin becomes the most dangerous form of evil. One of the most seductive lies the human mind tells itself is, "I'm a good person." We cling to this idea like a badge, even when our actions tell a different story. We donate once, hold the door open twice, and suddenly believe we've fulfilled our moral duty for the year. Meanwhile, daily cruelties, the kind we justify or ignore, go unchecked. That's how the banality of evil thrives. in the gap between how we see ourselves and how we really behave. C.S. Lewis brilliantly exposes this. He warns that many imagine themselves noble in theory, but lack virtue in practice. It's easy to picture ourselves saving lives in a crisis, but hard to listen with patience when someone needs us. We praise kindness, yet mock vulnerability. That false sense of moral superiority, that I would never do that mindset, it's not wisdom, it's self-deception. And the real danger, this illusion makes us resistant to correction. When someone points out a flaw, we feel offended, not reflective. The power of conformity ensures we surround ourselves with people who praise us, not challenge us. So, instead of growing, we build echo chambers that confirm our goodness, and slowly, the environment and social circles reinforce our blind spots. But here's the paradox. The more we believe we're immune to evil, the closer we walk to it. We stop questioning our motives. We stop examining our daily choices. And that silence inside us grows, until the moment comes when a crack forms, and in that crack, despair can enter. What happens next? That's where the shift becomes irreversible. When the illusion of being morally superior collapses, it doesn't always lead to transformation. Sometimes, it leads to despair. You realize you're not as good as you thought, and that can break something inside. The human mind, shocked by this fall from grace, often spirals. If I'm not good, maybe I was never meant to be. That moment of hopelessness is when the banality of evil offers its darkest comfort. It whispers, if you can't be perfect, why bother trying? And suddenly, the person who once clung to virtue now shrugs at cruelty. The power of conformity reappears, this time from the other side. The environment and social circles reward cynicism, not accountability. Bit by bit, you start accepting small acts of harm, and before long, you've built a life out of rationalized cruelty. C.S. Lewis calls this out clearly. The danger isn't just in doing evil, but in justifying it as if it were wisdom. It's the person who says, I'm just being realistic, while stepping over someone's suffering, or the one who mocks compassion as weakness. These aren't grand betrayals. They're the 1,000 tiny compromises that reshape your soul, so subtly that you don't even feel it happening. And once you've adjusted to that new moral low, it's hard to climb back up. That's why recognizing this cycle is so urgent. Because next time you make a choice, even a small one, you'll have to ask, am I slipping again? The answer depends on your awareness of what's really going on inside you. But there's more to this descent than just mindset. It's also about the constant battle that rages within us all. Every human being walks a tightrope between light and shadow. You're not all good, and that's okay. You're also not all bad, and that matters more than you think. The human mind is wired for contradiction. We crave goodness, but get tempted by shortcuts. We want to do right, but hate discomfort. That's the daily battlefield, not once a year, not when something huge happens, but every morning, with the little choices, one sarcastic comment, one ignored injustice, one selfish decision. They stack. And it's not about guilt, it's about awareness. The banality of evil doesn't come from monsters, it comes from tired people skipping the hard choice. But here's the hope. If you have the power to ignore goodness, you also have the power to choose it. That's the most terrifying and freeing truth about being human. The power of conformity never disappears, it just changes sides. One day you feel pressured to join cruelty. The next, you feel mocked for showing compassion. That's why your environment and social circles matter more than you think. Don't just hang out with people who think like you. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to stay awake, because sleeping through your values is the fastest way to lose them. And no, you don't need to be a hero. You don't need to fix the world overnight, but you do need to stay in the fight. The danger of frivolity will keep trying to numb you. Distractions will keep coming. And the voice inside you, the one that nudges you to care, is often very quiet. That's why even the smallest act of kindness can be a rebellion. And that rebellion might be exactly what the world around you needs right now. Big gestures get all the attention, but it's the small, invisible kindness that holds the world together. The human mind tends to overlook the impact of daily choices, saying thank you, listening without checking your phone, letting someone merge in traffic. It seems trivial, until you realize how rare it is. That's the power of conformity at work. Again, we imitate what we see, and often, what we see is indifference. But choosing to act differently, even when no one else does, is how you reclaim your agency. The banality of evil is built on passive repetition, doing what everyone else does but goodness. Real, stubborn, daily goodness, that's intentional. It takes effort, it takes discomfort, and it takes seeing the environment and social circles around you not as blueprints, but as TES. Lewis reminds us, it's not in grand gestures that our character is built, but in the tiny, unseen moments. That quiet moment when you could ignore someone and choose not to. That uncomfortable truth you could avoid and choose to speak. That's where real virtue lives, in the places where no one is clapping. In a world flooded by noise and apathy, kindness becomes a radical act, and you want a practical start. Be generous with your attention. Compliment without expectation. Apologize first. Read the screwtape letters with fresh eyes. Choose silence when sarcasm tempts you. You don't need to be perfect, just awake, because sometimes the smallest act of light in your day is enough to keep someone else from falling into the dark. Now, tell me, how many times have you caught yourself staying silent when you should have spoken up? How often have you laughed at something cruel just to fit in? The truth is, you don't need to commit a great crime to lose yourself. Just ignore the small ones. That's how the banality of evil wins, through apathy, not malice. But here's the turning point. You don't have to keep walking blind. You can start today with one act of courage, one refusal to conform, one moment of uncomfortable kindness. Are you willing to be that person? The one who doesn't just float with the current, but dares to swim against it. If this made you think, really think, then don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe to the channel, activate the notifications, and keep diving with me into the uncomfortable truths that shape our world. The next insight might be the one that changes everything, but only if you're here to receive it.